You're listening to Dear Strategy, where we answer all of your questions on product and business strategy. And now, here's your host, Bob Caparelli.
Welcome to another episode of Dear Strategy, where we answer all of your questions about product and business strategy. Real questions from real people in real companies, just like yours. Welcome back, strategy creators, to episode 90. And today we're going to talk about this balancing question. We kind of covered a little bit on episode 89, last episode, about, how do you balance the old and the new, right? And so we're going to kind of continue that theme a little bit, a little different twist on it, but I'll go ahead and read this question, which is, Dear Strategy, in a rapidly changing marketplace, how should teams balance the need to support the core business and the need to tackle innovation? What tactical steps can allow an organization to succeed at both without segregating people into separate teams? So kind of a big question there, lots of arms and legs to it. So let's go ahead and kind of bring this to a couple of different parts. So I'm going to start with the end part first, which is, this thought process that, hey, we don't want to segregate people into different teams. I don't know that you should count that out. Especially if you have a really, really strong core business. It's not uncommon, I would say, for companies to have innovation teams that their sole job is to find new ways to do things, right? So they're unencumbered by kind of the running of the day-to-day business. They're unencumbered by, hey, this is the way we've always done things. They're even unencumbered by what competitors are doing, right? Their job is just to say, what's the cutting edge technology and how can we take advantage of that? Or, hey, what's something that is blue sky, things that we haven't thought of before, and take advantage of doing that. Now, when companies do put resources into separate teams to do that, usually they're larger companies, right? And usually they're looking at big breakthrough technologies like wireless technologies or new battery technologies or, those types of things, right? New digital technologies that really don't exist anywhere or exist in obscure industries and don't exist in the industry that company is playing in. So that's the context in which these innovation teams usually work. And they're usually looking at innovations that could be used across the enterprise. So not necessarily just for one product, but across multiple products. And I would say that one of the shortcomings of a group like that is sometimes they're not as focused on customers as they are on technologies. So many times they're looking at the new science rather than looking at the customer needs. That shortcoming, by the way, is by design, because these innovation teams are tasked with looking at technologies, but they need to be tempered with, hey, if we find a new technology and a new way of doing something, if it's not addressing a customer problem or a customer need, then it's not going to succeed ultimately. So there's got to be that working together with the product teams or the product groups or the business to make sure that those things are accounted for. But assuming that happens, having a separate innovation team is not necessarily a bad thing, right? And it is actually one of the solutions to the problem that's being called out here, which is, if you have a core team that's working on the core business, maybe it's hard to kind of look at the new stuff. And so having an innovation team that's separate that can do that will be a benefit. Again, as long as they're tied together from a customer standpoint with the core teams. Okay, so don't count that out. Don't look at that as a bad thing. Now, if we go back to the beginning of the question, which is, how do you balance these things? Well, a lot of times that's going to be determined by the way the business wants to balance things. I've gone into companies where they say, we want X% of our sales to come from brand new breakthrough technologies. I'm not just talking about new product tweaks. I'm talking about brand new breakthrough technologies. And then we want, Y percentage to come from our core business. And usually, the core business is the higher of those percentages. But what they're doing is they're kind of coming down from the top and saying, we want to invest in innovation. We want to invest in these innovative teams, and we want ultimately X% of our revenue to come from that. Maybe that number is, 5% or 10%. Again, don't confuse this with what we often refer to as the vitality index. A vitality index for a company is when a company measures the percentage of new products they have as a percentage of their overall product revenue. But a lot of times when they're measuring the vitality index, they're not measuring brand new breakthrough technologies. They're measuring any new product SKU, which can be, a minor tweak to something, right? And usually companies that are measuring that are looking for maybe a 20% to 25% type of a vitality index. That's really more of a measurement of the vitality of your portfolio. So you want to make sure that some of your portfolio is in the beginning stages of life, some are in the middle stages of life, and some are on the are on the latter stages of life. So just like you'd balance your financial portfolio, that's more what the vitality index is looking at is, hey, make sure we have a number of new SKUs to offset things that are going to be retiring. That's different than kind of portfolio level innovation balancing, where you're saying, I want to invest in breakthrough technologies. I want to put X amount of dollars into it. And as a result, I want X amount of my sales, or, some percentage of my sales to come from that. Usually those percentages are going to be somewhere in the, 10% or lower range, depending on the company, of course, but that's the way that might go. So making sure that that guidance for balancing is set. And again, most of the times it's going to come from the corporate level, because the balance is going to be directly aligned with the amount of money you're willing to spend on innovation. But if you don't have that guidance, I would encourage that when you're doing your strategic planning, try and put that guidance together. So if you're responsible for a product line and that new breakthrough innovation is part of it, try and measure how much you're willing to invest in it, what percentage you want to invest in new technologies versus existing, and then how much revenue you're going to get out of it, how much return. And of course, profit will play into that as well, but kind of balancing those things, which kind of also brings us to some of the tactical things that we're asked about here. So more specifically, what tactical steps can allow an organization to succeed at both? Well, if you put this as part of your goals, right, that's going to set the stage for everything that follows. So I would say that if I'm looking at, innovation, breakthrough innovation, split it into these buckets that I talked about. How much investment do you want to go into breakthrough technologies versus existing? And that investment, by the way, is not only dollars in development, but also resources, right? So what resources do you want assigned? What dollars do you want assigned, right? Really do a plan on that. Then the second part is how much revenue do you want to come from breakthrough technologies versus existing core business stuff? And again, breakthrough technologies is not the tweaks to existing product lines. It's the real breakthrough innovative stuff, right? And then the third piece is the profit that you want to come from those breakthrough technologies versus the core business. And of course, you're going to have to look at that over some period of time. So the idea would be that you're investing some amount to get some amount of revenue with some amount of profit attached to it. And hopefully for breakthrough technologies, the revenue is going to be smaller relative to the core business than the profit would be, right? So maybe, I'm just using a number, maybe 5% of your revenue is going to come from breakthrough technologies, but 10% of your profit is going to come from breakthrough technologies. And that's going to justify whatever investment that you put in. So that's kind of the magic balance. And you do all of that during the, yes, you guessed it, strategic planning phase, right? So even if you're responsible for a product line, you can put together these numbers so that you know how much you want to invest, how much revenue you want to get, and how much profit you want to get from breakthrough technologies. By putting that plan in place, getting approval for that plan, now you can decide what resources are going where, what the expectations are, and there won't be any questions, right? You won't get yourself into a situation where you're either A, ignoring the core business because you're too far behind on innovation, or B, you're not doing any innovation because you're so busy working on the core business. So, simply just put it into your plan. Now, I will admit that most of the time, this type of balancing is done at a company or business unit level, because again, innovation usually happens across product lines, not just for a specific product line, but it can happen for both. And if you are in a situation where you work for a bigger company, get together with your other product or portfolio leaders and encourage this planning to happen at the corporate level. Say, hey, we need some guidance as to how much innovation is going to come from the company versus, focus on the core business and all of these same things. And then you'll end up getting some guidance or forcing some guidance to happen that may not have happened before. And again, if you think that leaders don't appreciate that, they do, especially if it's coming from multiple product managers, right? Most leaders want their leaders to take charge, right? And really consider these things. So if you're working with your other portfolio managers, portfolio leaders, product managers, and you say that, hey, this is what we would like to have from the company to give us guidance on how much, revenue and profit comes from innovation versus core business, or better yet, suggest it to them, right? Then they're probably going to start putting it into their strategy and going to the board with it. And you're going to get momentum for it as long as it's done in a positive way. So that's where I would go with this, right? Try and balance it at a portfolio level and see where that gets you. And then you'll have a proactive view of innovation versus core business built into your plan so you don't have to think about it once it's too late. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. Again, I want to encourage everyone to go out to dearstrategy.net. Click on the blog link and you will find a blog post that goes with every single one of these episodes, including this one. So a week after we do the podcast, we release the blog post. So please go read that, share it. Usually we add some more information. We have some more things that we add to it after we do the podcast episode, including links and other things. So definitely a resource that you should be checking out and sharing and shouting out about on social media. So start using the hashtag #DearStrategy and see where that gets us. Also, please go visit the sponsor of the show, the company that I own and founded, Strategy Generation Company. You can visit us at strategygeneration.com for more information about our workshops, tools, resources, and additional strategy creation work that we can help you and your company with. So while you're doing all of that, don't forget to make time for the plan, and we'll see you back here on another episode of Dear Strategy. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for listening to Dear Strategy with Bob Caparelli. To learn more or to submit a question to be featured on our show, please visit us at dearstrategy.net.